Friends, gather round, for today we delve into the wild world of weather control conspiracies. Our protagonist, none other than Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's back with a new chart-topper, Hurricane Helene, a political tool. According to Greene, it was a plan to shift votes. And the answer, my friends, is a resounding no. That kernel is geoengineering, the science of manipulating the climate. If Hurricane Helene was a manufactured menace, who's behind this alleged weather manipulation? According to Greene, it's they. And just who they are is about as clear as swamp water. Some might say, John, you're being unfair. Maybe she just forgot to mention who they are. Fair point, it happens to the best of us. But this isn't about forgetting milk, it's about accusing shadowy figures of weaponizing the weather. Given Greene's track record, they could be anyone. The deep state, the Illuminati, Big Bird on a power trip, who knows? But let's not forget her greatest hit, the Jewish space lasers theory. It's not a giant leap to imagine her pointing a finger at a familiar target. The lack of specifics, the vague accusations, it's all part of the conspiracy theory playbook. When you don't name names, you leave it open to interpretation, allowing fear and suspicion to fill in the blanks. Now, let's talk about Greene's claim that Hurricane Helene was engineered to influence elections, because apparently nothing says, vote for me, like a Category 3 hurricane bearing down on your polling station. To support her claim, Greene presented a map which, according to her, showed a clear overlap between the hurricane's path and areas with a certain political leaning. But here's the thing about maps. You can make them say just about anything you want if you cherry-pick your data and ignore things like, basic meteorology. It's like claiming that because ice cream sales go up in the summer and shark attacks also increase in the summer, then clearly, ice cream causes shark attacks. Correlation does not equal causation, my friends. But hey, who needs logic and reason when you have a conspiracy theory to peddle? The idea that someone could control the weather to manipulate elections is, frankly, absurd. It's like something out of a bad spy movie, except in this movie, the villain's plan involves a weather machine that looks suspiciously like a rusty old Roomba. Unfortunately, Greene's Hurricane Helene theory isn't an isolated incident. Oh no, it's just one drop in a vast ocean of weather control conspiracies swirling around the internet. And like a Category 5 hurricane of misinformation, these theories can be incredibly destructive. One popular target for these theories is BlackRock, the global investment management corporation. Now, I'm not here to defend BlackRock. They're a massive corporation, and I'm sure they've done plenty of things worthy of criticism. But controlling the weather, that's a new one. According to some corners of the internet, BlackRock is secretly manipulating the climate for profit. Apparently they're causing droughts here, floods there, all to drive up the prices of, bottled water and umbrellas. Look, I'm not an economist, but even I know that's not how any of this works. But again, these theories prey on legitimate concerns. Climate change is real, it's happening right now, and it's terrifying. And when people are scared and looking for answers, they're more susceptible to believing anything, no matter how outlandish. Section 5, Geoengineering Science Fact, Not Fiction. Now you might be thinking, hold on John, you just said weather manipulation is real. Does that mean Marjorie Taylor Greene is onto something? And the answer is yes, but also a very emphatic no. You see, there is such a thing as geoengineering, the deliberate large-scale intervention in the Earth's climate system to counter climate change. Think of it as a planetary fire extinguisher, a last-ditch effort to cool things down if all else fails. But like any powerful tool, it comes with risks and ethical considerations. We're talking about things like solar radiation management, which involves reflecting sunlight away from Earth, or carbon dioxide removal, which aims to suck carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. These are real scientific concepts, researched and debated by legitimate scientists. However, geoengineering is not some magical solution, nor is it something that can be easily controlled or manipulated for nefarious purposes. It's a complex field with potentially far-reaching consequences, and to suggest that someone is using it to rig elections is not only ridiculous, but also dangerous. Section 6. Raining bombs, not solutions, the history of weather warfare. Now I know what you're thinking, but John, haven't governments experimented with weather manipulation before? And the answer is yes, they have. But before you spiral down a rabbit hole of conspiracy theories, let's talk about the difference between research and weaponization. During the Vietnam War, the US government conducted Operation Popeye, a top-secret cloud seeding operation aimed at extending the monsoon season to disrupt enemy supply lines. Similarly, Britain conducted Operation Cumulus in the 1950s, with disastrous consequences for a village that experienced severe flooding. These historical examples are often cited as proof of weather warfare, and they should be acknowledged as cautionary tales about the potential dangers of manipulating the climate for military gain. However, it's important to note that these were isolated incidents, not evidence of some ongoing global weather war. Section 7, Outlawed Storms, the ban on weaponized weather. Here's the thing about using the weather as a weapon. It's a terrible idea. It's unpredictable, uncontrollable, and could have devastating consequences for everyone involved, including the very people deploying it. Imagine trying to aim a hurricane at your enemy, only to have it turn around and flatten your own cities. Not exactly a winning strategy. That's why, in 1977, the world collectively came to its senses and signed the Environmental Modification Convention, a treaty that prohibits the hostile use of environmental modification techniques. This includes things like triggering earthquakes, melting polar ice caps, or yes, controlling the weather. So while the history of weather warfare might be alarming, it's crucial to remember that it's been outlawed for decades. And while some might argue that governments are secretly developing weather weapons in violation of the treaty, there's absolutely no evidence to support that claim. Section 8. Dispelling the clouds of conspiracy, the need for education. So, if weather control conspiracies are so easily debunked, why do they persist? Well, it's complicated. Part of it is the human need to find patterns and explanations for seemingly random events. We crave control, and when we feel powerless, we latch on to anything that gives us a sense of agency, even if it's a ludicrous conspiracy theory. But another reason is the lack of public understanding about geoengineering. When people don't understand the science, it's easy for misinformation to fill the void. That's why we need better public education about these technologies so people can separate fact from fiction. We need to demystify geoengineering, explain the science in clear, accessible language, and have open and honest conversations about the risks and benefits. Because when we understand the science, we're less likely to believe outlandish claims about hurricanes being used to rig elections. Section 9. A clear forecast, transparency, and public involvement in geoengineering. But education alone isn't enough. We also need transparency from governments and research institutions about their work on geoengineering. The secrecy surrounding past experiments like Operation Popeye only fuels suspicion and distrust. We need to move away from the shadowy world of classified research and towards a more open and accountable system. This means publicly disclosing research findings, engaging in open dialogue with the public, and involving citizens in the decision-making process. Because ultimately, the future of geoengineering shouldn't be decided in secret labs or behind closed doors. It's a decision that affects all of us, and we all deserve a say in how these powerful technologies are developed and deployed. So, let's clear the air, dispel the clouds of conspiracy, and have a rational, informed conversation about geoengineering, because the future of our planet might just depend on it. And for the love of all that is holy, let's leave the weather forecasting to the professionals. They might not always get it right, but at least they're not claiming hurricanes are political tools.